baseball on the largest, most reliable 4G LTE network, only from Verizon. By Cure Auto, 25 years of saving you money. Cure Auto Insurance. Drive well. And by your local Acura dealer. Mets are encouraging fans to arrive early for the final regular season games at Citi Field this weekend. Expected capacity crowds. We recommend that fans take public transportation. All gates will open 2 hours prior to scheduled first pitch. Now time for you to tweet your strongest fan photo. Use hashtag SNY DataStrongFan, and you might see yourself in an upcoming broadcast brought to you by T-Mobile. Drive around the majors presented by Nissan. Last night the Cardinals got the division title in the National League Central with their 100th victory of the season. Mike Leake, a complete game 2-hit shutout for the Giants. They shut out the Dodgers. That keeps the Mets a game in front of the Dodgers for home field in the National League Division Series. And the Astros move back into the second wild card spot with a 7-6 win over Seattle. Colby Rasmus with the go-ahead hit in the 7th inning. Well, the Fanatics here early, looking in fine fettle. Liberty Bell still cracked. All's right in Philadelphia. First pitch coming right up. Beyond. You can place a deposit on your 2016 full or partial ticket plan today and guarantee yourself access to Mets 2015 postseason tickets. You can purchase tickets online at Mets.com/deposits. We showed it once and it looked so nice we decided to show you the Geico starting lineup one more time. Kelly Johnson, the 257th time in his career he's batted leadoff, but the first since 2012 when he was a Toronto Blue Jay. There's your piece of trivia for the lineup.
Keith's in a little trouble today. Al's in charge of his monitor. It's not working, so Keith's out. Toyota numbers for Jared Eichhoff. He's had a couple of starts against the Mets. Very impressed. He had one of those starts where he struggled early, but he got it going late. Good fastball, hard slider.
And his last 3 starts, he's been outstanding. 1-0, 1.29 over the last 3, so he's finishing very strong in his rookie season. Keith, can you do the defense?
Well, I don't know if I should. I've been told I'm out. Coors Light Phillies defense. Jeff Francoeur gets a start finally in right field. Good to see Jeff out there in the lineup. Former Met. And Galvis moves to segunda base, and d'Arnaud at shortstop. And Carlos Ruiz, the old veteran, gets his first start in the series. There you have it. There's your Phillies defense. This looks like Candlestick back in the 70s, folks, on a very cold night.
Big Shea when I came up in the 83.
Well, not unexpected after all. It's cold, it's windy, and the game's starting 7 hours earlier than it was supposed to. Most people are at work or in school, so kudos to the folks who have made it to this ball game today.
Frank made it with the ice cream. That's all that matters.
You know, I didn't know if the ice cream was going to be unveiled at 11:30 in the morning. I was so pleased that it was.
He gave me so much. I had to go hide, and I ate half of it. It was way too much.
Never heard you turn down ice cream before. First pitch to Kelly Johnson is inside for ball one, and we're underway. About 13 hours after we finished last night's debacle. 3 hours and 59 minutes. One of the strangest games ever played as Johnson hits one down the left field line, slicing toward the corner, and a foul ball.
And all you folks that, tuned in last night or came out to the ballpark, and this was the first game you saw of baseball, just discard it.
Don't hold it against us.
It's really a nice game. It's a fun game.
Well, if you're in the ballpark today, there's every chance you're going to get yourself a souvenir. Chopper hit over the mound. In comes Chase d'Arnaud to field it, and he throws out Johnson for the first out of the day. So Pete Mackanin puts Chase d'Arnaud in the lineup, but Travis is sitting today, as are most of the Mets regulars. There's Ruben Tejada hitting second in the order. Ruben 1 for 5 in this series. Last night's game featured 10 walks, 7 wild pitches, and 4 hit batsmen. And Elias went back and dug through the records and found since the dead ball era, so we're talking about since 1920, there had never been a game in Major League history featuring 10 walks, 7 wild pitches, and 4 hit batsmen. So when Ruben pulls one down the line foul. So when we talk about last night's game being one of the worst ever played, there's evidence to back that up.
Not even the St. Louis Browns of the 40s?
17 pitchers used, one shy of the record for a 9-inning game. No game had even featured 7 wild pitches in 22 years. That's the mess that we witnessed last night.
We had fun, though. I enjoyed it.
We had a great deal of fun.
I enjoyed broadcasting. I didn't enjoy watching it.
Well, think of all the fun things we talked about last night.
Ronnie had some excellent comments.
I have nothing to say today at all for the entire game.
I was just happy you were still here and hadn't changed teams.
Yes, exactly.
The curveball to Tejada, and he grounds one down to Ashe. And he throws out Tejada for the second out.
I'm a front runner, Gary. I go with the postseason teams.
Well, that other team's been hot coming down the stretch.
Not hot enough.
So 2 out and nobody on. Now Michael Conforto, who hit a 2-run homer in the first inning last night. Mets built a 5-0 lead before the Phillies ever came to bat in last night's game, and then they never scored again.
This young man might get used to this spot. He might be in the spot someday, sooner than you think. Conforto.
It's funny when the Mets put out their day after lineup on Sunday after they clinched and Conforto hit third, Keith said the exact same thing.
Oh, gee, I didn't get that. I didn't watch it, so I'm not stealing your stuff. Sorry, Keith.
No, it's Ron. You can piggyback.
I think what it means is that
same
there's
opinion.
Pretty good consensus that this guy's pretty good.
He is. There's no question.
Conforto's had success against Eichhoff, 4 for 5 with a home run. Third time the Mets are facing Eichhoff. And the slider misses 2-1. Jared Eichhoff, 25 years old, another one of the pitchers the Phillies acquired from Texas in the deal that sent Cole Hamels to the Rangers right before the trading deadline. Evansville, Indiana product. And Conforto yanks one foul.
It's funny, the foul balls now kind of just resonate in the stands, and people kind of amble over and very polite. Do you want it? No, I'll take this one. I'll get the next one.
It's one of those games where you're going to hear every fan. If you got one guy in here that's going to get on the players, you're going to hear him speaks loudly and clearly.
Conforto strikes out on the curveball, and so Eichhoff has himself a 1-2-3 opening inning. Sean Gilmartin takes the mound when we come back. Today, Jeff Francoeur gets his first start of the series against the left-hander. So does Carlos Ruiz. And Chase Darno just his second start as a Philly. And the first big league start for Sean Gilmartin.
Well, Gilmartin, those are his cheap stats. What I really like about it, in 52 and a third innings, he's given up one home run. That's it.
It's pretty amazing,
right?
Isn't it? Especially for a guy who throws under 90 miles an hour. Freddie Galvis 3 for 7 in this series. He's been a pest against the Mets all year. Switch hitter batting right, and he pokes one foul. Galvis a higher average from the right side, but all his power from the left side.
Well, that was really a game that the Mets let get away last night. It would have been a nice victory coupled with that Dodger loss, but give the Phillies credit.
And Gilmartin strikes out Galvis on 3 pitches, 1 away.
This is one of those games that ended so late last night. It's early today. If you're a pitcher and just throws strikes, you can make it through 5 scoreless in a heartbeat.
And Gilmartin is that guy. 52 innings, 17 walks, and 5 of the 17 were intentional walks. So really only 12 walks in 52 innings. So he's going to throw strikes. Here's Odubel Herrera, 4 for 8 in the series. All 4 hits came in the opening game on Tuesday night. So this is one Rule 5 draft pick who has survived the full season, facing another with Gilmartin against Herrera. It just doesn't happen all that often that a Rule 5 pick sticks for the entire season. If you're unfamiliar with Rule 5, any player who's not on a 40-man roster in the winter can be selected by another team, but if you select the player, you have to keep him on your major league roster the entire season.
Well, Gilmartin, who was a starter his entire career, pitching from the stretch in his first start for the Mets.
He's gotten used to it.
Yeah, right.
After 49 relief outings. Aaron Altair on deck. That's driven out to center field. A long run back for Lagares, but he gets there, and that's the second out. The wind's blowing in as it did last night, and the wind certainly chopped that ball down a little bit.
Yeah, that means that's a north wind, Gary, and that's also a very cold north wind. And we'll look at the Lexus defense. There.
I don't mean to quibble with you, Keith, but I think the wind is a little more northeast today.
That's hilarious.
Oh, we're having fun today. We're going to have a good time.
That was a good job on the defense, by the way.
Here's Aaron Altair with 2 out and nobody on, and he bloops one down the right field side. That'll go foul. By the way, just going back to the whole Rule 5 thing, because a number of folks have asked whether Rule 5 requires that Gilmartin stay on the roster in the postseason, and the answer is no. That once we get through the final day of the regular season, his big league roster obligation is done, and then the Mets can keep him for the long term.
I'll ask Terry this, but I'll ask you guys first. What do you do when you get to the postseason with all the players that you've brought up from the minor leagues? Do they all get in uniform during the big league postseason games?
No, I don't think so.
Right?
I don't think they get in uniform, but I know that a lot of teams have taken them along. In other words, had them travel with the team during the postseason. I don't know if the Mets intend to do that with all their extra guys.
I wouldn't do it.
I think it should be the 25, and that is it.
I think the 10 a.m. tee time on October 5th.
Well, the other piece is, remember that the roster that you set in the division series is not necessarily the roster you're going to have for the next series and the next beyond. So any players who you think you might need, you'd send to Port St. Lucie and have them keep in shape there. Fastball outside to Altair, and it's 3-2.
So anyway, when the playoffs start, there's only the rules are 25 players dressed and on the bench, allowed. 5 coaches, whatever amount of interpreters you need, a couple trainers, whatever. Got in trouble with trainers before.
All 4 to Altair. So the first base runner of the day, a 2-out walk.
Oh.
Hunter Wendelstedt, the crew chief, calling the balls and strikes today. Marvin Hudson, David Rackley, and Bob Davidson rounding out the crew.
The old Wilson catcher's masks the umpires use.
Here's Jeff Francoeur, making his 69th start for the Phillies this year. And it's been something of a resurgent season for Frenchie, whose career looked like it might have been at an end. Spent most of last year in the minor leagues, doing some hitting and doing some pitching.
Right.
Tejada on the charge. Nice big hop. Side retired. A hitless first inning for Gilmartin. No score after 1. Michael Kadire leads off the second inning for New York. Well, our gentle friends in the writers' press box have decided that the weather's a little too much for them today.
Jay's asleep.
So the window is going down. I would say that they were worried about their papers being blown around, but they all use laptops. They don't have paper.
And there's also not a lot of them there. I think a couple of them are already on the train back.
Kadire, Neuenhuis, and Campbell for the Mets in the second against Jared Eichhoff, who got the side in order in the first. And Kadire pops one foul. Michael getting the start at first base today. So Terry Collins told me before the game today that his plan for tonight's game, when it was supposed to be a night game, was to play all his regulars. But after the 4-hour game last night, he kind of pulled the delegation. That's line to left field, and on comes Altair to make the grab, 1 out. And asked all of his regulars whether they felt as though they wanted to play today with a noontime start after the 4-hour game. And just about everybody told him straight out, you know what, let's take the day off. Except for Curtis Granderson, who said, I'll play. And then about half an hour later, they got back to the hotel. Curtis said, you know what, me too.
I'll pass.
I've been talking to the rest of the guys. I'm out also. Well, if anyone can take a day off, it's Curtis, who plays every day.
Agreed.
What's interesting is, as Kirk Neuenhuis takes high, that the Mets very much have talked about getting home field, doing everything necessary to get home field, and the team they're battling for home field and who they'll be playing in the postseason in 8 days is not necessarily taking the same approach.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a mistake by them. I totally understand trying to get all your guys healthy. That's more important. But, Dodgers have not played well on the road all season long, so that has not been a strength. The Mets have played, until these last 2 games, unbelievably on the road.
Well, Don is getting some heat in the L.A. press over this decision, and I agree to it a little bit with him if you've got injured players, and it's a time to get some healthy if they've got some nagging injuries. Justin Turner happens to be one of them. But to me, and I've been saying it from the beginning, I just think the home field advantage is something worth playing hard for.
And to me, it's not even about the first 2 games. It's about if you have a game 5.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a deciding game, you want that to be in your home ballpark.
Big time.
Yes.
3-2 to Neuenhuis with 1 out and nobody on. And he drives one deep to left center field, headed back toward the wall. That ball is off the base of the fence. And Neuenhuis will cruise into second base with a 1-out double. So Kirk has the Mets' first hit of the day, his 10th double of the year.
Kurt likes that ball down too. Holds his hands high, gets that ball down out over the plate. Short hops the wall.
He's a strong guy, isn't he, Keith?
He doesn't get a lot of his body into his swing. He's very stiff, but that just shows how strong his upper body is.
It snapped an 0 for 12 stretch for Neuenhuis. He's at second with 1 out for Eric Campbell. Campbell was in the lineup Sunday in the Mets' day after lineup and went 3 for 4 that day. In fact, since being recalled in September, Eric is 6 for 13, and that's gotten his season average up over 200 for the first time in a while.
Over the Mendoza line.
Oh, good for Eric. He's very quiet, comes to the ballpark. He works hard, doesn't complain.
One to Campbell. Well, if you look at the National League Division Series, the team with the home field advantage has not necessarily had an advantage.
Okay, it's all right. I'll still take a home. I'll take a home crowd any day.
Campbell turns away. By the way, you're talking about the Dodgers and their injuries. Just to update the Mets situation. Yoenis Cespedes looks like he's fine. Will probably play this weekend after being hit in the hand last night. Wilmer Flores wasn't feeling much better today after his back stiffened up last night, so he's probably not available today. And probably the most important injury right now the Mets are dealing with, as minor as it might be, is Steven Matz. And Matz was feeling much better today, and the Mets expect him to pitch over the weekend.
Well, let's hope the games get in over the weekend. Got that Hurricane Joaquin coming up from
where's that coming from?
South, moving northward.
Curveball from Eichhoff strikes out Campbell for the second out. This was a source of such concern for the Mets for about an hour and a half last night as we waited the results of the X-rays after Cespedes got hit on the left hand.
So ring finger and middle finger, right, is where the injury occurred. Contusion, bone bruise.
So they got the X-rays, they taped up the fingers, but he's fine. In fact, he told Terry Collins after the game last night if he needed him to play today, he was good to go.
It's tough as nails.
Yep, Plawecki takes a strike. Plawecki hit a home run on Sunday in his start in Cincinnati. Neuenhuis at second and 2 down. And that's lined to right field, but right at Francoeur. And he picks it off to retire the side. Mets hit some balls hard in that inning. Neuenhuis stranded at second. No score in Philadelphia. Banquet. Well, we're leaving Philadelphia today for the last time this season, so Rocky is our timeless moment. Standing guard over the Philadelphia Art Museum. Darren Ruff leads off in the home second inning.
There's Mr. Schiavone on the left with the glasses. Greg, that's my ride home tonight, folks. They drove all the way, Greg and his buddy there, all the way from Sag Harbor to watch last night's fiasco. They were going to go home this morning, and I begged them to come and watch another fiasco, and so I can get a ride home.
Is it possible, Keith?
Well, you call you a salesman.
Is it possible, Keith, that with the size of the crowd today, that you know the name of all the patrons in the ballpark?
This is reminiscent of the 70s with when the Giants were terrible at Candlestick on a cold night. The old Stinkola Mets back in the late 70s. At Shea Stadium, these were the kind of crowds you had to play in front of.
But this is one of those special circumstances, Dave, so you understand the side of the crowd. And what I go back to is there was a series in the 90s, I don't remember exactly which year it was, when a big chunk of concrete fell in Olympic Stadium in Montreal, and they had to move a series from Montreal to Shea.
I remember
and
that.
Ruff strikes out for the first out. And, you know, because the games were in schedule and it was done on short notice, there were only a few hundred people for each game. And it was one of the few times at Shea they allowed everybody to move down and take any seat they wanted. And so folks who normally could only get seats in the upper deck were sitting behind the dugout. And I thought it was a great
That's
thing.
fantastic. Well, remember when Carlos Zambrano threw his no-hitter? They had to move the game to Milwaukee?
From Houston.
From Houston.
Right. It was an Astros home game, but it was all Cub fans because it was in Milwaukee.
Exactly.
Cody Ashe 2 for 8 in the series. And he gets under one to right field. Neuenhuis right on the line, catches it in foul territory. 2 out.
I think there's not a Met player or coaching staff that's not. I think they're kind of happy about getting this game in, number one. I think getting a day game, getting home at a decent hour so you can be home with your families, have a nice meal, get ready for the weekend series with the Nats.
I would have to say, though, I think number 10, Mr. Collins, is going to have a little speech to his team before the Nats series and kind of crack the whip, because it's time to start buttoning up the little things that have gone wrong here or there to get ready for the post.
It's really the first really fall day here in the season.
Get used to it. Next few days are going to be cold and windy and wet. And the Mets hope to get all 3 games in this weekend. They'll battle to do so.
I can remember '86 at Game 1 against Boston. It was so cold.
Well, I always have to sign pictures from people who took photos of that game, and I have a turtleneck. It's the first time I ever wore a turtleneck in a game. It was the first game of the World Series. That's how it was cold. How cold it was.
Well, it is one of the standards of the game, as we've added more layers to the postseason, that the best games of the season happen in the most unseemly baseball weather. I remember the World Series a number of years ago in Cleveland when it was snowing during World Series games.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, the World Series will go into November if it goes Game 7 this year, right?
Mm-hmm. Well, perhaps Game 7, being in an American League park, would be played indoors.
Right.
That could happen in Toronto. It could happen in Houston. By the way, the Blue Jays, I was looking at their numbers today after they clinched yesterday. On July 29th, the Blue Jays were 50 and 51, and they were in 4th place. Since then, they're 42 and 15. Now, obviously, acquiring David Price and the others they picked up help, but that's an incredible hot streak. Carlos Ruiz lifts one to center, hit pretty well. Lagares back, Wynn knocks it down, and Lagares takes care of it to retire the side. 1-2-3 inning for Gilmartin, taking advantage of the conditions. No score. Game. And yes, that's the Rocky pose.
Dun, 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 dun.
Is that the first baby we've had a picture
Today.
of the Data Strong?
What is that spell there? I can't.
Newest Mets fan.
Okay, I couldn't tell the first letter. Oh, sweet. Hey, that's it. Just keep them coming. Keep those Met fans coming our way. Get them watching SNY in the broadcast. That's good. We like it.
Got to get them early.
Must be a contract here or something. I don't know what the.
Juan Lagares leads off in the 3rd, and he pops up the first pitch from Eichhoff. Wind blowing it into foul territory, and Ruff grabs it for the first out. So 1 out and nobody on, and now the Mets' 400 hitter comes to the plate. That would be Sean Gilmartin. Sean, when he pitched at Florida State, also played some outfield, so he's acquainted with swinging the bat. 2 for 5 in his major league career. Remember when he got his first hit? It was in that 18-inning game in St. Louis, the one Keith enjoyed so much.
Oh, yes. That was another fiasco. That was a close second to last night.
It was a different kind of fiasco.
Yeah, just
that was just futility.
Yeah, exercise and futility.
Offensive. Right. What were they? 0 for 20?
Runners in scoring position,
0
right?
for 25?
Yeah.
No, it was some ridiculous number.
And then they won the game, which was the sweetest part of the whole deal. I think they ended up 1 for 26 with runners in scoring position.
Had this shot of that guy laying out in the bleachers, sound asleep on his back. It was terrible.
I don't know if it's happened at any other time this year. That's strike 3 called, and Gilmartin's caught looking. 3rd strikeout for Eichhoff. But I do know that afternoon into evening in St. Louis, Keith was trending on Twitter.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. I was about lost my mind.
He was big that day.
I lost my mind in that game.
Yeah, that Twitter stuff, that can get out of control, can it?
Keith gone viral.
Ron, you went a little viral last night.
I know he did.
Now,
well, the last 48 hours have not been really great for me on the social media scene. But that's all right. I got booed off Shea Stadium with 55,000 there. I could take anything. Bring it on.
There's that old saying that there's no such thing as bad publicity.
That's right.
I don't know.
0-2 to Kelly Johnson, who grounded out to short his first time, and he lines one behind Eichhoff. Great stop by d'Arnaud from his knees, but not in time. And Chase d'Arnaud making a spectacular stop, but Johnson beats it out for an infield hit, and Travis able to applaud his brother and his teammate at the same time.
Well, playing up the middle, makes a nice stab here, nice dive. Johnson smelled that hit.
So 2 out, a runner at first, and now here is Ruben Tejada, grounded out to third base his first time up. Goes after the first pitch slider, 0-1.
Just thinking, if we could morph the 2 d'Arnaud brothers together, could get Travis out at shortstop with his hitting ability and Chase's speed.
It is interesting when you look at the 2 of them, how different their skill sets are.
Yeah.
Because Chase can really run, and he's very flexible middle infielder type who can also play some outfield. And then you got Travis, who's more of a power hitter.
You know where Travis d'Arnaud's power comes from. You ever shake his hand? I mean, it's like meat hook.
Vice grip.
Yeah, vice grip.
Well, Ronnie and I last night had a long conversation with their mom and dad.
How nice are they?
They're very sweet. The
Lance
mother
Marita.
very involved. Yeah. Mother listened like intently, as if we were like E.F. Hutton. I mean, what we were talking about Travis, they kept on wanting to talk about their other son, and I didn't want to go there. I wanted to talk about Travis. He's a Philly. I wanted to keep it on Travis.
Well, you remember when Steve had Lance d'Arnaud on the other day, he said, Travis has kind of taken the lead in terms of his career, but they're waiting for Chase to make his move.
Right. That's right.
Chase is the older of the 2, but he went to college, and Travis was actually drafted first. Chase went to Pepperdine.
How do you go to school at Pepperdine, by the way?
I don't know how you concentrate.
Exactly. I mean, if you haven't been to Pepperdine, it sits on the most beautiful hill overlooking the ocean in Malibu.
Yeah, mountainous part of the Pacific coast, and the student body is off the charts.
Intelligent, you mean? Curveball inside to Tejada, 3-2. Conforto would be next. Johnson gets set to run. Ruff is not going to play behind him here. Continues to hold him with 3 and 2 and 2 out. And Tejada down on strikes. Eichhoff fans him with a fastball, his 4th strikeout. Middle of the 3rd and Philly, still no score. Home 3rd inning, no score. Sean Gilmartin, 2 scoreless and hitless innings under his belt. Sean's longest outing of the year was 3 1/3. That was against the Phillies back in August. 58 pitches in that outing, also his season high. Chase Darno takes up and away for ball 1.
In between innings, you were telling me about the plans that Terry Collins had for today's pitching.
Well, remember the Mets used 9 pitchers last night, so Terry was hoping to get from Gilmartin to Tim Stauffer all the way to Jerry's Familia. So that would be like 5, 3, and 1.
There you go.
That's in a perfect world. Let's see whether that works out for him. Gilmartin was a starter throughout his life before this season. He'd been a starter exclusively in the minor leagues. New and Heiss barely asked to move. And Chase Darno retired 1 away, and we check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, not too many lines at the concession stands today, so I decided to take advantage of it and found this puppy. It's the way back triple burger. We're looking at 9 beef patties, 9 slices of cheese, but don't worry, it is nutritious. There's 1 tomato and 1 piece of lettuce on here. It's actually a pretty good deal. Only $30 for this puppy.
Oh.
$30. Hey, it actually is a good deal if you think that a single probably costs $10 at a ballpark nowadays. So how about that? Listed at just under 2,000 calories, although I'm told you can get much higher than that with the toppings.
Steve, now I remember your Arizona adventure earlier this year with the churro dog. Do we get to witness your consumption of this triple?
Gary, that's a one and done. That's a one and done. I did that already. All right, I'm gonna pass this off. I figure if you're a Mets fan, you came out here to see your team play, you should probably get a chance to try this one on for size. I got 2 Mets fans right in front of me right here. Let me see if they want this. Excuse me, boys. Here's a little present. All right, congrats on the NL East championship. It's a way back triple. Enjoy it. There we go. See if they can finish that by the game's end.
See if they can figure out how to consume it. I think it looks like a Rubik's cube to them right now.
Steve, wait till that receipt blows back out.
Yeah.
The Philly fanatic wanted the burger. I'm sorry. We'll get you another one. Here's Airmark back here. They can grab you one.
Just expense it, Steve. No problem.
Done.
Steve, go over and find my friend Greg Schiavone.
New and Heiss to the line and pulls in Eichhoff's fly ball for the second out. Those guys look like they could use a burger.
There they are.
So second time around the batting order now for Gilmartin as Freddie Galvis steps in. Galvis struck out on 3 pitches his first time up. Hit hard. Oh. Great stop by Kadire, and the flip to Gilmartin for the out. Michael Kadire moving those 36-year-old feet and making a terrific play. No hunger there. The most popular way to follow the Mets in the postseason is with MLB.com at Bat, the #1 app for live baseball. Enjoy live look-ins, highlights, replay reviews, scores, StatCast, live radio broadcasts, and more. Download MLB.com at Bat for your smartphone or tablet now. Michael Conforto takes a curveball for a strike as we start the 4th inning. Conforto struck out his first time up. Mets with 2 hits, the Phillies with none through the first 3 innings. And Eichhoff, it was the curveball to get ahead 0-2.
Well, the big difference between Eichhoff the first time we saw him is that he's been getting his breaking ball over, and that curveball he's been using a lot more than it was slider the first time we saw him.
Conforto leading off in the 4th inning. Kadire and Neuenhuis to follow. And Kadire goes down swinging on the slider. 5 strikeouts for Eichhoff, 1 out in the 4th. So Jared Eichhoff continues to impress.
I just heard that one fan you were talking about, Keith, giving it to Conforto on the way back to the bench.
You're going to hear everybody today.
Kadire lined out to left his first time up and dribbles one back to Eichhoff. And quickly there are 2 out. Well, we're winding down toward the end of the season, and a number of our personnel are slowly peeling away toward other pursuits. I want to send out great thanks today to Dave Armini, who's done a lot of our tech directing work on the road. You know, we have some overwrought personalities in our truck, and Dave's kind of like the calming presence.
Well, like Switzerland
keeps those guys from going off the deep end.
Very nice.
Well, they're in that little tight little cave back there. They're indoors. They get no sunshine, and no wonder.
They're vitamin D deficient. Is that what you're saying?
Put a zap on your brain.
Neuenhuis flies one to shallow left. A long run for Altair, and it lands foul. And then Altair avoids the collision at the last moment.
Ronnie, where are you going this weekend with Turner?
I go to Texas. Texas is going to be playing the Angels.
So we will miss you on Sunday.
I'll miss you on Sunday.
So you don't get to do the finale with us.
When you say goodbye to everyone and all that stuff. But it's true to form, Keith. You said that the last 3 games were not going to matter for the Mets. They would have it wrapped up by then. You said it. I thought you were crazy.
Yep.
Boy,
wow.
You got it right on the nose.
Well, you weren't too far from the truth there, but I just happened to be right there. I never realized the extent of the dysfunction of the Nationals. That was the sole basis of my prediction.
Strike 3 call. Neuenhuis caught looking. 6 strikeouts for Eichhoff, who's on a pretty good roll this afternoon. So is Sean Gilmartin. No score as we go to the bottom of the 4th in Philly. The knife and fork is required. Don't think it's as easy to eat with the cell phone in hand, but that's just me.
Everyone's texting him and saying that he's on TV eating a burger.
Well, here's the thing: the folks at Wayback Burger were so impressed with Steve's report that they sent a bunch of burgers up to the booth for us. As Odubel Herrera leads off the bottom of the 4th, 1-1. But I think they didn't have any faith in our ability to go for the triple. They sent us the single burgers, which is nice, easier to handle, especially in the middle of a broadcast.
I like serving on the newspaper. It's like fish and chips.
Like,
in England, yeah.
Like in the underground in London.
That's right, in the tube.
Herrera flying to center his first time up. Aaron Altair on deck, and then Jeff Francoeur against Gilmartin, who has on a lot of hits through the first 3 innings. Just 1 base runner. And Herrera pops one up behind second base. Kelly Johnson reels it in. 1 out.
These are the kind of games where the next thing you know, you got a chance at a combined piece. You know what I'm saying? Seen it before.
Aaron Altair has been the only base runner for the Phillies this afternoon. He walked with 2 out of the first. Mets trying to avoid getting swept in a series in Philadelphia for the first time since 2009, when the Mets and Phillies were in heated competition. Driven out to center, and again the wind makes it an easy play for Lagares, and there are 2 out. Many auditioned, but only one had the vocal stamina to go one-on-one with Chris Carlin. See native New Yorker Dane Martinez debate the top New York sports stories of the day in his guest host debut on Loudmouths tomorrow at 5:30, only on SNY. So you never auditioned
for Loudmouth?
No, I didn't. I've got a mouthful of burger.
Full mouth.
Why'd you direct the conversation my way?
Well, congratulations to Dane. And second, Chris Carlin's tweets have been one of the best parts of the show all season long. I mean, just great. He's hilarious.
By the way, Dane's debut is today at 5:30.
Today at 5:30.
I think the copy said tomorrow, but it's actually today.
Okay.
Don't want anybody to miss the debut of Dane. Partial to Danes myself. Great Danes.
Great Danes.
That's right.
I mean, watching the people run after the foul balls is hilarious to me.
Frenchie drives one deep toward the gap in left center, and he's got the first Philly hit of the day. Brancourt into second base with a 2-out double.
Well, he got himself a high fastball. Frenchie was always a bit of a high ball hitter. Always had an awkward swing, a lot of moving parts and not moving together cohesively. Boy, early in his career, he had some years at Atlanta.
Now Darren Ruff with 2 out and a runner at second. So now that we've thoroughly confused everybody, it turns out it is tomorrow that Dane Martinez is making his debut. So you can tune in today, but he'll be there tomorrow.
How do these things happen?
I don't know. You know, it's an early game today. Everybody's a little bit off their game.
Okay.
Well, got 2 football games tonight if you're interested.
I know you are.
Got the Ravens at Pittsburgh. You got the Hurricanes, Miami Hurricanes at Cincinnati.
Pittsburgh playing without Gentle Ben.
And the Ben's
Big
out.
Ben.
Ben will be out for around, 8 weeks, huh? Maybe. Michael Vick will be quarterbacking. Another curveball, 54 feet. It's incredible.
I know you usually don't pay attention to these things, but is there a point spread in Pittsburgh?
Oh, there's always a point spread. I'm more interested in the college game myself. Miami's got the following week a game with Florida State. That's a look pass game, maybe, They fall asleep at the switch in Cincinnati.
I know very little about college football, but I will say it might be a good week to back the Hurricanes.
Oh, that's right, with Joaquin. Well, the latest, it's going to shift out to sea now there a little bit. That's a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, it's not going to slam into the south coast of Long Island like it was going right forward again.
Yesterday they were talking about hitting North Carolina, so it looks like it's taken a big turn to the east.
Northeast, to be precise.
3-2 to Ruff with Ashe on deck. And Ruff cracks one to deep left, forget it. A long 2-run homer off the bat of Darren Ruff, who's had a huge season against the Mets. And he gives the Phillies a 2-0 lead. Number 12 for Ruff. He's got 15 RBIs in his last 5 starts against the Mets. And he puts another hurting on a baseball. His 12th home run makes it 2-0 Philly.
Very strong.
I thought it was a high changeup. Let's see.
I think it was a curve,
Yeah,
Ron.
okay.
I think it was just a curve hanging up. Not much snap to it. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah. I think it was some kind of breaking ball. Nothing breaking ball.
Only the second home run Sean Gilmartin has allowed this season in 57 innings of work. Boy, that ball went a long way.
Yeah, he crushed. He's a
out
big
of the concourse down the line.
He's a big, strong man.
Well, they've waited a while for Ruff. He's 29 years old. He's never been as consistent as they had hoped. But he's getting a lot of chance to play coming down the stretch with Ryan Howard hurt and taking advantage of it.
Hard to judge in September, though, isn't it? Or October, as we speak.
Ashe strikes out. Plawecki makes the toss. Side retired. But Francoeur doubles. Ruff hits a 2-run homer. And the Phillies lead 2-0 after 4. To SNY for behind-the-scenes access, player reactions, and a complete game breakdown with exclusive interviews and Todd Bowles post-game comments on Jets Post-Game Live presented by Toyota Sunday after the Jets-Dolphins game only on SNY. Now, how's that going to work? The game is at 9:30 in the morning.
Yes.
Mets are playing at 1. Oh, they play at 3.
3.
That's right.
3 o'clock.
Everybody plays at 3 on Sunday. There's your Dodge fifth inning recap. Sean Gilmartin had held the Phillies without a hit until giving up a double and a home run. Jared Eichhoff, who has pitched very, very well coming down the stretch for the Phils, has given up just 2 hits over the first 4 innings. Eric Campbell struck out his first time up.
For the Jets post game, wouldn't it be great if you got like an actor? They have the greatest actors in New York with a beautiful Cockney accent to do the highlights.
Like the maybe the British version of Jim Brewer.
There you go.
Like Mr. Bean.
Yes, Mr. Bean. I was thinking more classical, like Patrick Stewart or something.
Okay.
Well, if you want
blunt talk.
Ian McKellen type, somebody like
Yes.
Michael Caine.
Alfie.
Ooh.
Probably be more interesting with like Russell Brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that call.
What are we talking about?
Campbell takes a curveball for strike 3 call. 7 strikeouts now for Eichhoff.
We're talking about curveballs and the 7th strikeout. I don't know what you were listening to.
There's a lot of time between pitches, Keith, just, to talk about stuff.
Oh, I know.
We do that sometimes.
I know, particularly this time of year when it's a 12 noon game and
By the way, kudos to Major League Baseball because they made the call early yesterday to move this game from 7 o'clock to noon, and they did the same thing in Baltimore, where the Blue Jays are playing today. Unfortunately, they started that game at noon today, played an inning, and they've got another rain delay. So
is the rain? Well, that's Keith. Keith's getting the rain
is it coming
up
north?
from the south.
Well, no, Baltimore's a little further south than Philadelphia.
But can it come this way?
It's coming our way. But we're going to get this game in. It looks like everybody out here has got 1 foot on the bus.
Well, we are only 2 outs from an official game right now, with the Mets trailing in the 5th. Plawecki lined out his first time up, and he grounds one foul. 1 and 2.
You know what I love to see is when young pitchers come up, look at that grip, wide finger grip on that curveball, and you see a guy that you saw a month ago, and he's really gotten so much better in that short time.
He's got a lot of rotation.
Yeah,
all the guys with the exceptional curveballs or sliders you can just as a hitter, you see they just have more spin on the ball.
It's really the physics of the game, isn't it? The faster you can get the seams turning, the more it's going to cut through that air and the more it's going to break.
Now, you mentioned the spread fingered grip on that curveball. How unusual is that?
That's very unusual. Usually your fingers are together. That tells me that he's a very big man with big hands. I know we've talked about him. Basketball was one of his first loves.
Evansville, Indiana. He's a big kid, 6'4", 240. Yeah. Very sturdy.
Reminds me of remember the Bennis brothers when they pitched for St. Louis?
Good call.
That kind of size.
Good call.
2-2 to Plawecki. And he nubs one off the end of the bat, and that'll stay foul.
See, that middle finger is right on the seam. And all he does is try to pull on that seam as hard as he can.
Now, some guys will take one of those fingers off the ball on the curve.
Yeah, they call, it's been called like a knuckle curve or a spike curve. Cole Hamels, when he was with the Phillies, that was his pitch.
When he decided to throw it. Plawecki strikes out. So the strikeouts piling up for Eichhoff, who fanned 10 in his last start against Washington. He's got 8 already today.
Oh, this is a four-seamer. Just up in the strike zone after all those breaking balls, and really just throws it right by Plawecki.
Up and in, low and away. We got a curveball like that. It's a winning formula.
So 2 out and nobody on now. Juan Lagares. Lagares fouled out to first base his first time up. Juan came into the day hitting .333 in September. Well, I guess he finished hitting .333 in September because now it's October.
That's right.
0-2 to Juan. Mets as a team hit 42 home runs in September, the most they've ever hit in that month.
Someone's having fun down there.
I mean, it says 93 on the radar gun, but without a lot of people here, boy, it is crackling the mid of Ruiz.
There's a lot of echoes in the ballpark today. And the curveball drilled to center field. Herrera, though, racing back in the gap to run it down. And that retires the side. Jared Eichhoff has 5 scoreless innings under his belt with 8 strikeouts. We have an official game. It's 2-0 Phils halfway through. Home fifth inning, Carlos Ruiz takes inside from Sean Gilmartin. 2-0 Phillies. Ruiz fly to center his first time up. It's been a lost year for Chooch, hitting under .215 for the year. At age 36, he's got another year in his contract next year. And I would assume that the Phillies plan to bring him back to be a backup, whether for Cameron Rupp or whether they'll go outside the organization for catching.
When was his rookie year when he came to the Phillies?
He came up late in
Yeah.
7 maybe.
Yeah.
Somewhere in there.
Seems like he's been here forever.
Yeah, but he was 26, 27 by the time he came up. Yeah, 07 was his first full year in the big leagues.
Caught a no-no in the playoffs. Doesn't get much better than that.
Only he and Yogi have done that.
That's right.
Of course, Ruiz caught Roy Halladay's no-hitter, and Yogi caught Don Larson's perfect game. Tim Stauffer up in the bullpen for the Mets. And Gilmartin gets Chooch to reach for one. It's 3-2. Chase Darno on deck, then the pitcher Eichhoff. Gilmartin's already gone deeper into this game than he has any game this season. He had gone 3 1/3 in his longest outing and thrown 58 pitches. He's surpassed both those now. Sharp ground ball. It goes right under Kelly Johnson and into right field. Looked like Johnson got there, but it went under his glove.
Well, you saw Johnson's reaction after the ball went through him of, oh, how did I blow that one? I should have made that play. Right under the glove. Didn't get it down in time. Look at his reaction. It's like, oh, I should have made that play.
So it's a base hit for Ruiz. First time the Phillies have had the leadoff man on today. And now Chase Darno, who flied out to right his first time up. And he flies this one into right center. Neuenhuis takes charge of it. 1 out. Let's look at today's Verizon trivia question. Which 5 active pitchers have beaten all 30 teams?
Well, one of them has to be on our club, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I would think the lefty in Toronto.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not.
No.
Because he only played for one National League team.
Yeah.
Right?
How about the right-hander in Toronto?
Yeah, that could be.
How about a giant guy who's going to retire after this year?
Oh, yeah.
He was actually making the last start of his career this afternoon.
Yes, definitely there.
Against the Dodgers. That's a foul ball. Although, again, he only pitched for. See, now with interleague play, it's more complicated, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He only pitched for one American League team, but he probably beat that team as a Giant, right?
Right. Yes, definitely.
So we're talking about guys like, to put names to Cologne, Burley, Hudson.
Yeah.
Was Burley in the National League long enough?
Well, but again, with interleague play. Bunted by Eichhoff. He gets it down nicely with 2 strikes. 3-4 on the sacrifice, moving Ruiz to second. Second sacrifice for Eichhoff in his career.
How about double C in New York?
Again, he wasn't in the National League for very long.
I'm just looking at guys with 200 plus.
Oh, how about the guy in St. Louis who started out in Anaheim and went through Boston?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Personality, Mr. Warmth. He's like the Don Rickles of baseball.
Mr. Minimum Salary.
Yeah, right.
Wow, look at Galvis. Get a little closer. He's out in the Schuylkill River.
Remember he used to put that front foot back?
Right, he was almost out of the batter's box on the side.
But he keeps it straight ahead now.
Right.
I don't believe I've seen someone stand that far away from the plate.
How about George Hendrick? He used to stand a long way away from the plate.
He had to use that long bat and he had those long arms.
Yep.
Look at that. That is a long way away.
Gary Maddox used to stand a long way away from the plate. Another guy, very
you would
tall.
know.
Yeah.
You would know because you got the angle. They couldn't tell at first base.
Cleon Jones stood a long way.
Oh, he
from home
did.
plate.
He used to stride in, right?
He had trouble with that slider away.
Here's a guy for you. He stood way back in the box, but he really strode in. Hal McRae was another guy that was off the plate.
Ruiz at second and 2 out. This figures to be the end of the road for Gilmartin, who's due to lead off in the next half inning. Ruiz takes off for third, and the throw, nobody covering, and Ruiz steals third base. Campbell didn't bother covering. Loecki unleashed it anyway, and the Mets fortunate that ball didn't go down the line.
Well, someone didn't say there he goes, or Campbell just was taking a snooze.
Ruiz's first stolen base of the year. And the 21st of his career. 3-2 the count to Galvis. And he grounds one right at Tejada. And that retires the side. So fine effort for Sean Gilmartin. He turns in 5 quality innings with the Mets down 2-0 after 5. Twitter or Facebook after every Mets win. Check out our posts to find out how you can win a StubHub gift card. Follow SNY today and don't miss out on the SNY social sweepstakes presented by StubHub. 5 in the books in Philadelphia. The Phils with a 2-0 lead. Mets have now gone 13 innings without a run since the first inning last night. Eric Young's going to bat for Sean Gilmartin, leading off in the 6th. Young looking for his first hit since returning to the Mets. He's gone 0 for 6, but during that period he scored 9 runs. Appeared as a pinch runner last night and stole a base, his 6th of the year.
Jeez.
Well, Sean Gilmartin in his first big league start certainly acquitted himself well. Gave up the 2-run homer to Darren Ruff, but not much else. His longest big league outing. 2 to Young with Kelly Johnson on deck, and then Ruben Tejada for the Mets in the 6th against Jared Eichhoff, who's really been terrific today.
Slicing through this lineup like butter.
Eichhoff's allowed just 2 hits, walked none, and struck out 8. Well, we talked last night about the discussion that's going on amongst the Mets brain trust about postseason roster construction, and some of it centering around Eric Young. And Terry Collins furthered that discussion today, saying that they're trying to decide between 10 and 11 pitchers on the division series roster. And you have to think that the difference between the two might hold the fate of EY. Right. If you keep 10 pitchers, you can afford to have that extra bench player and bring the speed guy along. If you have 11 pitchers, probably not.
Folks, if you miss it, the scrum of the reporters with Terry Collins every day the past week has been this. Terry, do you have your roster yet for Friday? No. When are you going to have it? Friday morning. Okay, great. That's where it ends.
Well, it's
every day.
It's to the point.
That's about the gist of it. Rolled out to Galvis, and he makes the play on Young one away. Let's check in with the studio. Michelle Yu has a game break. Jackson had 5 RBIs in the Cubs win yesterday. He could be an interesting bench piece for them in the postseason.
Been traded a couple times now in the last 2 years.
Kelly Johnson up for the 3rd time. Kelly has one of the Mets' 2 hits, an infield single in the 3rd. And he takes the changeup from Eichhoff, a ball and a strike. Well, he did a lot of leading off early in his career, but this is his first game as a leadoff hitter since 2012 when he was a Toronto Blue Jay, right in the midst of his tour of the American League East.
It's a good changeup here.
Good
Ball
sink.
starts on the outside corner and ends up 6 inches off.
Eichhoff's got a chance to be a decent pitcher. I like his stuff.
He's shown 4 quality pitches today.
He showed me a lot. We watched the pitcher last night for the Phillies not get through the 1st inning. Eichhoff had one of those starts against the Mets that didn't look like he was going to get through the 1st either.
Galvis on the backhand, can't handle it. And Johnson's aboard again. Looked like a ball that Darno might have had a better chance at since he was moving in the right direction and Galvis wasn't.
There was a little hesitation there. Right there you saw Galvis, probably a rookie, a little timid. That really was his play.
And they're going to score that a base hit for Kelly Johnson, so he's got back-to-back infield hits now.
Well, leading off, you go for the infield hits when you're leading off. Use your speed.
It's like D. Gordon. Who, by the way, did he take over the batting race lead last night?
I think he did.
I think Harper has hit the over stretch since his little dust up with Papelbon. Some of the particulars on Tejada, who has had a real moving forward season for him. It's presented by DraftKings. Play daily fantasy baseball for free on DraftKings.com. Enter promo code NYM for free entry. They are neck and neck, Harper and Gordon. Harper minimally in front, but they're both at 331 going into the day.
Sure glad we put that mic down there today.
Oh. Well, the first night we had the gentleman down there with the baldish head.
He was calling
that wouldn't shut up the whole game.
But
last night we had 2 gals that were giggling the whole night, and now we got this clown down there.
No, the funny part about the first night is the guy kept yelling Gary's name. And Gary would not give him the time of day because he didn't want to go there. You know, very understandable.
He sounded like he wasn't happy with me. If he had been a little more welcoming,
yeah,
I might have taken a different approach. 0-2 to Tejada with Conforto on deck. And Ruben down on strikes. That's 9 strikeouts now for Eichhoff. 2 away.
High fastball. Ruben did not have his heart in that swing.
So 2 out. Johnson still at first, and here's Conforto, who's been up twice and struck out both times against Eichhoff.
This would have been a night game. It would have been freezing. Been a very chilly game.
Pretty chilly already.
Yeah.
So you've got your cashmere sweater on.
I do, but my hands are cold.
Went with that Willy Wonka color today.
Purple haze, brother.
Purple haze.
Very, very hip.
It's a little early in the day for purple haze. Ball on a strike to Conforto. Well, the Mets are home tomorrow night, we think. A lot of weather coming in, but Noah Syndergaard is scheduled to pitch the opener of that series against the Nationals tomorrow night.
Was it Syndergaard, Harvey, and DeGrom, right?
And they'll squeeze Matz in there somewhere. Chopper on the right side. Easy play for Galvis. And that retires the side. 6 scoreless innings for Jared Eichhoff. 2-0 Phils in the 6th. Against the Nationals. Coverage begins tomorrow night at 6 o'clock right here on SNY. And there are the pitchers scheduled for tomorrow night's series opener. Noah Syndergaard against Gio Gonzalez. Well, it's now the home gallery, furniture and bedding, but you can see the legacy. That was where Joe Frazier plied his trade.
Right. Knockout prizes. That's pretty funny. Right across the street from here, they have now a beautiful sculpture of Joe Frazier throwing a left hook.
That's great. Tim Stauffer on to pitch for the Mets as we go to the bottom of the 6th.
Well, Stauffer, there's Eric Young Jr. in left field. He stays in. Conforto's out. Stauffer's started off slowly as a Met. 10 seasons with San Diego and Minnesota, 33 and 34.
Last pitched in Cincinnati 6 days ago. His 5th outing as a Met. He was with the Twins earlier this year. Stauffer was not scheduled to be a September call-up, but then when Carlos Torres hurt his calf, the Mets figured they needed a little length in the bullpen and added Stauffer. Tim grew up in Saratoga Springs. And Herrera hits one hard. That'll go to the corner. So Odubel Herrera with a leadoff double against Stauffer in the bottom of the 6th.
That's how you hit a ball in the outside corner. Stayed back, you hit it right up the plate. Like a golfer. Puts the ball between his legs. That's the one pitch you take deepest into the, you take it deepest, furthest towards the catcher's mitt. Late contact on that outside pitch.
Here's Aaron Altair, who's walked and flied out 0 for 1. And he pops one up. It'll head toward the seats and go out of play. So the Nats are coming in tomorrow night. It's going to be the first time the Mets have seen the Nats since the division race was decided. And since then, there have been all sorts of postmortems, including a series in the Washington Post over the last few days, written by a writer whose name I can't pronounce, but did a spectacular reporting job. Got a lot of people to talk to him very frankly about stuff that went on behind the scenes this year with the Nats, and really paints a picture of just how incredibly dysfunctional that team was, making it less surprising that they have underachieved as much as they have.
A lot of anonymous quotes from players, which I cannot stand. A lot of the blame game, finger pointing. Not good, and it really lays bare the issues that the Nationals need to address if they're to go forward next year.
And fans, if a writer writes about it at the end of the season, it's because it's been happening all season long. So those anonymous quotes are guys that have been chirping all year long.
Well, it was interesting because there was a postscript to the story, to the series that was written, that basically said that the writer was gathering the information for the entire season and agreed not to write about it until the team's fate was decided. And so that's how he got a lot of people to talk to him who might not otherwise have spoken if it was going to be written, you know, while the Nats were still on the hunt.
So you can read between the lines. So it was almost an article written with the intent based on if the Nationals failed.
Well, also if they succeeded, because the first two parts of the series were about the good things that happened with the Nats earlier in the year.
Harper, MVP, all that kind of stuff.
I just don't like the players. And whatever you feel about the manager or the general manager, I've never seen so many players yap and complain as I read in that article. It was astounding.
Well, I thought the thing that astounded you the most, Keith, was the guys really talking about getting paid for performance and those kind of things, that thinking about that first before winning ball games.
Well, there were a couple of specific examples for anybody who hasn't read the articles, and I'm sure a lot of people are going to want to. But about the front office and the way they handled the situation with Drew Storen and Jonathan Papelbon. Altair lifts one into left center, and Young will grab it. That's the first out. Herrera holds it second. And we heard a little bit of this from Tyler Clippard, who had been in that organization, and the feeling was that Storen, who was a successful closer, had been disrespected earlier when they acquired Rafael Soriano to take his job, and that they did it to him again. And when they factored in that they let Clippard leave after last year, they traded him to Oakland, they wound up paying more to get Papelbon, and it created even more dysfunction.
Well, they were also talking, it was really very fickle.
Yeah.
I thought. Talking about the money they gave to Scherzer. And Worth's quote was, which I was astounded, was it was going to affect Storen and his money earning capacity down the road. Like he's going broke. Storen made over $5 million this year. It was astounding what I read coming out of the mouths of the players.
One to Francoeur. Well, when the season began, the Nats were the favorite to go all the way, but not anymore.
Well, it's important for the Mets with the Nationals coming to town, Gary, over the weekend to comport themselves with class over that 3-game series.
Well, there's no reason to
exactly.
rub it in at this point. You got another season to play against those guys next year. But I think just to expand on what we were just talking about, I think that the feeling that I got from that story, and I'd heard this before, complaints from the Nationals from inside that clubhouse, that management was more intent on giving the big contracts to players who came in from outside the organization, like Scherzer, like Papelbon, rather than buttoning down the guys who were already there, like Zimmerman, like Desmond, who are going to be walking away at the end.
Listen, they offered Desmond over 100 bones.
Yes,
I mean, come on,
and he
can't
said
complain.
no. And you know what? You're a player. Get your nose out of the business of how the teams run, and go out there and do your job.
But how does that start? How does that kind of discontent fester, and why doesn't it happen in other places? I mean, every player's looking for big money. That's no secret.
Well, I think it does. I think it does happen in other places, Gary. It's because the Nationals were supposed to be a shoo-in to win 100+ games. Good curveball by Stauffer. And when that doesn't happen, they really were a team built. It was World Series or bust. They didn't go to the World Series. It was just a tragedy of a year. They didn't even make the playoffs.
I'm trying to find this article and the name of the writer, which was, all you folks out there, I strongly urge you to go online and read the 3-part series. It is a wonderful expose on the Nationals. It's worth reading.
It's Barry, and I think you pronounce his last name Serluga.
Yeah. With the Washington Post, right?
There's like a whole bunch of consonants in there.
It is a revealing 3-part story that is researched. It's one of the best sports stories I've read in a long time.
The money quote in there was talking about Matt Williams and his lack of communication skills with his team, and there was a point at which Jason Worth wasn't told he was having a day off, and they posted the lineup, and he wasn't in the lineup, and he ripped the lineup card out, took it into Matt Williams' office, and the quote was that Worth, according to somebody who was in the room, said to Williams, "Exactly when did you lose this team?" Which, I mean, doesn't get any harsher than that, player speaking to his manager.
Now, you're talking about a guy that was manager of the year last year, and we heard the whispers that he wasn't particularly liked by the players. Now, that's just rumor mill. You put me in a court of law. I couldn't swear by it in a court of law, but those are the whispers we heard, and I think it was a culmination, and it just festered. And with this way this season happened, developed for the Nationals so disastrously, it just finally came to the fore. It is a great story. One of the best sports stories I've ever read, and I don't read a lot of sports stories, but I read that one with interest.
The bad guys lost.
2-2 to Darren Ruff, and the curveball from Stauffer misses, full count. And then, of course, the icing on the cake was the Harper Papelbon dust up last week, and Papelbon suspended for the rest of the season now as Harper tries to lock down his MVP, but he's struggled since that, and probably not surprisingly so. Ruff hits it right at Tejada. Makes the long throw on target. Side retires as Stauffer works around the leadoff double. We played 6, 2-0 Phillies. Seventh inning, Mets down 2-0. Jared Eichhoff pitching a gem this afternoon. Michael Cuddyer takes the curveball off the plate for ball one. Cuddier's 0 for 2, line to left, hit a comebacker. Eichhoff just 83 pitches through 6 innings, hasn't walked a batter, struck out 9. He's allowed just 3 hits. Well, Eichhoff trying for his 4th straight tremendous start to finish off his rookie season.
He's got a nice hook.
Well, especially after what you've seen from some of the other young starters for Philadelphia. This is a guy that he's winning himself a spot in the rotation next year right now.
By the way, Eichhoff has thrown 6 innings today, which gets him to 50 big league innings, which means he's officially not a rookie for next year.
The experience is going to pay off a lot for him next season.
Yeah, I don't think he's thinking about that. He's happy to be in the big leagues and pitching in the big leagues.
We got an opportunity through the trade of Cole Hamels that brought him and 4 others from Texas.
You know, everyone gets their chance, you know. In '83, in September, I had 5 starts to prove that I belonged in the rotation the next season. Made the most of them. Not everyone does.
Well, it's interesting just to note his improvement since the last time the Mets saw him at the end of August. Great play by Ruff to make the diving stop, and he throws out Cuddyer. Well, Cuddyer made a great diving stop earlier in the game to rob Galvis, and now he gets robbed himself by Ruff.
Second time that Cuddyer hit the ball well. First at bat hit a bullet at the left fielder. Nice play. Perfect feed.
So 1 out and nobody on. Now Neuenhuis, who has the only extra base hit for the Mets today, a double to left center in the 2nd, and he struck out in the 4th. Mets have now gone 14 straight innings without scoring a run.
So funny, isn't it? 2 baseball games, 1 played yesterday, 1 played today. It doesn't even seem like the same sport.
You know what they say, right? You never know what you're going to see when you come to the ballpark.
Right.
You can only set the game back 100 years once in a while.
Stone Ages, as he'd said.
Jerome Williams up in the bullpen for the Phillies.
Eichhoff's not afraid to throw inside, Ronnie, to the right-handers and the left-handers. He's very aware. Oh, there you go. The only problem is you can't see the game.
Got to stay warm, though. That's drilled into right center. A base hit for Neuenhuis, and that'll roll all the way back to the wall. Neuenhuis to second. He'll pull in there with his 2nd double of the day.
Change up, RJ.
Right down the middle.
Nice, stayed back.
Behind in the count. Newey, as he's known to his teammates, with his 2nd double.
So Neuenhuis, the only Met who's been able to solve Eichhoff today. He's got 2 doubles. The only other 2 hits for the Mets were infield singles by Kelly Johnson. Now Eric Campbell, who's been up twice and struck out both times. Campbell, the tying run at the plate in a 2-0 game. What's the cliche? A small but vocal crowd.
Yeah.
Eichhoff about to throw his 95th pitch of the day. Threw 99 in 7 innings in his last start against the Nats. And a check swing right back to him. Looks Neuenhuis back. 2 out. To answer our Verizon trivia question, 5 active pitchers who've beaten all 30 teams. Let's see how much we missed this by.
Burnett.
We forgot Burnett. We forgot Heron. We forgot Loesch. We forgot Zito. Well, that's 4 to 5.
We got 1 right.
That's just brutal.
That's awful.
That's awful.
That's truly and utterly awful.
Kyle Loesch was a tough one right there. That one can sneak under the radar.
Zito also, I forgot he was active. I know he pitched last week, but barely active.
That's just awful. Was that Stump the Booth, not Stump Gary today? Does it work?
How could we forget AJ? That's terrible.
It's embarrassing. Embarrassed for my whole family over that one.
Plawecki's lined out and struck out 0 for 2. And he flies one out to right. Francoeur coming to the line and across and can't get there. Ball kept working further and further away from Francoeur, and he just couldn't locate where.
Sleeveless on a cool day. Frenchie. Those swirling winds. Very difficult. You don't know which direction they're going to go.
Except you do.
I thought you always knew what direction it was going. That's north-northeast, Keith.
It's a good day for hot chocolate, isn't it?
Plawecki pulls one just foul. 1-2.
Good play down the line by a Mets fan. I'm assuming because of the colors.
It's not a good day for ice cream.
Well, the guy fell asleep last night. Maybe he hasn't woke up yet.
They still love the gummy bear ice cream.
Ooh.
1-2. And the curveball knocked down by Ruiz. 2-2 to Plawecki.
Oh, they're toppings, Gare. So you get gummy bears on top.
Okay. Now
Oh, Ronnie, Swedish fish. That's your favorite?
Yes, it is.
But on ice cream, you
No, that doesn't go.
Why are they Swedish fish?
It's like the Swedish chef. 3-2 to Plawecki.
We got to get the guy that's near the mic to come up and do the 1 inning because he keeps just screaming down there. Strikeout. Yes, he went. He's calling the whole game.
He's got a lot of energy.
Yes, he does.
Only the third 3-ball count all afternoon for Jared Eichhoff. And Plawecki takes just off the plate. 3-2 slider. And the first walk of the day for Eichhoff on his 101st pitch. And we'll see whether they'll let him go any farther or whether he's done. And the answer is apparently done.
He doesn't believe in letting pitchers finish an inning, Pete, does he?
I think this is about pitch count.
Okay.
Keith. Young pitcher, final start of the year. Want to make sure he goes into the offseason without any issues.
Well, maybe not. He's asking him. Let me stay in.
Yeah,
come on, Skipper. I can get him. All right, good.
Well, there you go.
Nice. I love it. I mean, we never see that happen anymore.
No.
It's so much fun to watch.
You're right. It used to happen a lot.
Yes, it did.
Managers go out, take your temperature, and figure out whether you really wanted the next batter. So the tying runs on base with 2 out, and Juan Lagares at the plate. Lagares lined out to center field his last time up, 0 for 2 on the day. Neuenhuis at second, Plawecki at first. And Lagares takes a sinker for a strike.
Now, this is where you learn a lot about yourself as a pitcher. Running on fumes, shouldn't be at 102, but that's kind of where the pitch counts are now. Gotta, bull your neck, do something to get that last out. Save the bullpen for the 8th. Your tendency as a young pitcher when you get tired is to try to throw harder. What you have to try to do, and you learn it later in your career, don't try to throw harder. Throw more effective. Throw on the corners. Keep the ball down.
As you saw from that graphic, this is the most pitches Eichhoff has thrown in any start of the big leagues. This is his 8th major league start today. Eric Young hitting 9th in the order, would be next.
It's a gut check moment, though. You've told your manager you're going to get the out. You got to get it.
2-2 to Lagares.
Because if you don't get it, next time he comes out, there won't be any discussion. He'll just take the ball.
Well, next time will be next year.
There you go.
I mean, there's got to be a certain amount of ownership of that last start of the season, too.
Yeah. I mean, you want to lead throwing 7 shutout innings if you can.
2 out, 2 on, 2-2 to Lagares. Fouls off the fastball. He muscled up to 93.
Juan just missed that pitch, though. That could have been a 3-run bomb right there. I'd have to say he's going to finish today, try to finish today with that big hook. It's worked all day long.
2-2. And he did, but Lagares wastes it away. And he'll have to throw another one. Five-year-old Jared Eichhoff trying to finish a 7th scoreless inning. And he bounces one. And now a full count to Lagares. So he's clearly running out of gas. The question is, does he have that little extra in the tank when that gas light comes on?
You just need 1 out. Come on. Reach back. It's there. Dig deep.
Well, Lagares wants one more of those swings of that pitch he missed. Put the Mets ahead.
Neuenhuis and Plawecki get set to run. 8th pitch of the at-bat coming to Lagares. He fouls off the fastball. He'll do it again.
You know, he's throwing everything that he has at Lagares. And sometimes in a 3-2 count, you win the game by 2. You rear back and you throw it as hard as you can. Try to keep it down.
Curveball struck him out. And Eichhoff able to get through the 7th. That was an interesting moment for a young Philly pitcher.
This is one of the best hooks he's thrown all day.
His 10th strikeout matching his career high. And justifies the faith his manager showed in him. Still 2-0. Cody Ashley trying to bunt his way on it. It's a fair ball, and Plawecki throws him out. The ball was fair by about an inch. As Ashley saw third baseman playing back.
Looks like Ashley's coming back to the plate.
Well, why would he?
No, he called it. He said he called it fair, didn't he?
I think he called it foul.
He's mistaken. You're out.
Hunter Wendelstedt now informing Ashley. I mean, Wendelstedt clearly pointed fair. Yeah. Ashley, I guess, didn't get the memo. Well, and that's not a challengeable call.
Any attendance under 13.5, you're not allowed to review a call.
He's peeking over his shoulder.
If the ball is on home plate, it's still fair.
Yes.
And it is on home plate when Plawecki picks it up.
Huh.
So it's a big hang with him.
So it goes. Here's Carlos Ruiz, and he takes the strike.
That's what you get for bunting.
Ruiz had a base hit and even stole a base in the 5th inning, his first of the year. Tim Stauffer in his 2nd inning of relief. After Sean Gilmartin went the first 5, Gilmartin in his first big league start went a career high 5 innings, threw a career high 70 pitches, allowed 2 runs, 3 hits. Plawecki coming back for a look, but that's back in the crowd. 1-2. That was quite an interesting scene the last half inning with Jared Eichhoff and Pete Mackanin giving him one more batter, and the way Eichhoff approached that, the last batter he'll face in 2015 in his rookie season.
It's really worth seeing that scene, doing this game today, just to see that itself.
Ruiz caught looking for the 2nd out, 2nd strikeout for Stauffer. Now Chase Darno, who's 0 for 2, twice his fly out to right field. Brian Bogusevic has come out on deck. He'll pinch hit if Darno keeps the inning going.
You know, that works both ways, Gary. Eichhoff is going to take that into the winter. Remember that last inning of pitching to get Lagares, and so is his manager going to remember that. So when they have their meetings in the winter and they sit down and talk about the depth chart of the guys that they have in their organization, well, Eichhoff's going to move up a couple notches in Pete Mackanin's eyes.
Well, they say you're not supposed to believe what you see in March and September, but sometimes you can't. Johnson throws out Darno, so it's a 1-2-3 inning for Tim Stauffer in the bottom of the 7th. That sends us on to the 8th in Philadelphia, still 2-0. Here's your Mets box score, brought to you by Acura. Mets have now gone 15 straight innings without a run. Kirk Neuenhuis is the only guy who was able to solve Jared Eichhoff for 7 innings. He had a pair of doubles. Kelly Johnson, a couple of infield hits.
Well, we talked earlier, this is the double, by getting the ball deeper, how you hit an outside pitch. And it's the one pitch. Look how deep Herrera hits this ball back in the zone. That was the double down the left field line in the 6th inning. Now, look at the difference. This is the double to right center field, and it was an off-speed pitch, but it was really just down lower outside corner, and you see where the contact is with Neuenhuis more out in front. So 2 different ways right there. Kind of a point of interest.
Andres Blanco in to play third base. Jerome Williams will pitch for the 2nd straight night.
Well, Williams was starting for much of the season, now has been relegated to the bullpen where he performed pretty well.
Eric Young batting 9th in the order will get his 2nd turn at bat. Grounded out as a pinch hitter, staying in the game in left field. Mets have been held to 4 hits today by Jared Eichhoff, who walked 1 and struck out 10 over his 7 innings.
So that game in Baltimore is still it's still raining there.
Yeah,
they haven't resumed.
Hour and a half rain delay.
Wow.
Well, like the Mets, Toronto is trying to secure a home field. In their case, trying to secure home field for the NLCS. They're a game ahead of Kansas City going into play today. So their situation in terms of needing to get those games in is the same as the Mets situation. For most of the season, it looked like a foregone conclusion the Royals would have the best record in the American League, but the Blue Jays ran them down these last few weeks. Kansas City's had a very tough month of September.
Tough month of September. Bad news with Greg Holland having to undergo Tommy John surgery. So 1/3 of that great trio that pitched last year in the playoffs is gone. Wade Davis now will close.
Kelvin Herrera will pitch the 8th inning, and we have to figure out how to get to that.
We have to figure out how to call him Kelvin.
Strike 3 call to Young, who thought the pitch was away, and that's the first out.
Oh.
Here's your starting pitchers today, brought to you by People's United Bank. Sean Gilmartin was good in his first big league start, but Jared Eichhoff was way better. Eichhoff in line for his 3rd big league win. 1 out. Kelly Johnson, who has a pair of infield hits today, 2 for 3. Jerome Williams is part of the small fraternity of Hawaiian-born pitchers.
That's right. I don't know how many there are.
Not many.
No.
Mets had a pitcher a few years ago, Tyler Yates.
That's right.
He was a Hawaiian native.
There have been a lot of Hawaiians on the Mets when you think about it. Benny Agbayani, Tyler Yates, Sid, and myself, of course. You know who was born in Hawaii? Charlie Huff.
Really?
Yeah,
really. I didn't know that.
His father must have been in the military.
Yes.
Of course, now in St. Louis, you got Colton Wong.
Yeah.
Who is, he's going to be a big star in this league.
I'll never forget Colton Wong in the 2013 World Series. He got picked off, and he had to stand in front of his locker. It was his rookie year. Picked off in Fenway.
To end the game.
To end the game, and stood in front of his locker, tears rolling down his eyes because he was so emotional about it. And then last year just had a fantastic year. Just tough growing pains, but he grew up from it.
Two from Williams, and that's pulled and caught. 2 out.
This is the craziest game. You can have 2 infield singles, and then you hit a ball in the nose, and it's an out.
Right.
Coming up tonight on Geico Sports Night at 10:30. The Dodgers are playing later this afternoon, so they'll have an update on where the Mets stand as far as home field is concerned. Lots of football as well. Geico Sports Night tonight at 10:30, only on SNY. So 2 out and nobody on now. Ruben Tejada, who's 0 for 3 today. And he swings over the curveball, 69 miles an hour from Williams. Dilson Herrera is out on deck to pinch hit for the Mets. And that's lined and a base hit for Tejada. Ruben will settle for a 2-out single. And the Mets will get the tying run to bat.
It's a little changeup. We saw a lot of changeups from Williams last night, who had a really good inning. A couple of strikeouts in his inning of work. 1, 2, 3. That was very uncommon for last night's game.
So now Dilson Herrera will pinch hit. When we last saw Dilson, it was in the day after game on Sunday, and he took advantage of his opportunity. In his first start in 3 months, he had a single, a double, and a 2-run homer. And he's the tying run at bat now in a 2-0 game. Andres Blanco showing off his ups.
It's like a ballet with he and Chase Darno.
Chase making like Danny Murphy. The sympathetic leap. That one gets between the legs of Ruiz, and down to second goes Tejada.
How are they going to rule this? Oh, he just
passed.
Oh, my goodness. That's box it.
Should be anyway, right?
Box it and send me a dozen.
Was he crossed up? I mean, is that why this long conversation is occurring?
I don't think so. I don't think he's crossed up. I think he's just going to tell them what sign they're going to go with and then apologize profusely for letting that ball go to the backstop.
The first thing he did was in the other order. He apologized first, and he said, what do you want to do? Got you in this mess. What do you want to do?
The official scorer is still making up his mind. But in any event, Tejada's at second with 2 out. A 1-1 count to Herrera with Michael Kadire on deck.
Ooh.
And Williams misses just off the plate, 2-1. Very interesting in the way Terry Collins has used his bench today. He's not even gone to his regulars to pinch hit. He used Young, he uses Herrera, basically staying away from almost all of his everyday players for the second time in less than a week. 2-2 to Dilson. And they have confirmed pass ball on Ruiz.
You got to take into account his expertise. He's so good behind there that's a play you should make in his sleep.
Grounded right at Darno. And that retires the side. So the Mets offensive drought continues. 16 straight innings without a run. 2-0 Phillies in the 8th. Without showing Independence Hall.
That's right. Those grounds were walked by Alexander Hamilton, the whole bunch. George, John Hancock,
Thomas Jefferson,
John Jay, to name a bit.
Ben Franklin,
John Adams,
Cesar Rodney,
a whole ton of them.
Dario Alvarez, who pitched a third of an inning coming off a groin injury last night, comes in here to face Andres Blanco.
Facing a right-hander here, but really want to see how he does against left-handers if he can see him. 3 for 9 lefties are off Alvarez as a Met this year.
You got 2 switch hitters and then the left-hand batting Herrera here in the 8th inning. Interesting, though, that Alvarez is out there for a second straight day. You wonder whether this is something of an audition. Blanco crushes one to left, and that is gone. Not the way to pass the audition. So Blanco, who had not started in this series because he's been banged up, crushes his 7th home run of the year. And the Phillies now lead 3-0.
That was crushed. Line drive.
Dario's Family Guy moment. Here's the pitch, and chance is over.
So a rude welcome to this game for Dario Alvarez, and now Freddie Galvis fouls one off. Well, it certainly raises the question yet again. We saw John Neese pitch each of the last 2 nights out of the bullpen after not really doing it ever, and he didn't really succeed in either one of those outings. Now you've got Alvarez, who the Mets were hoping would help somewhere along the way, but then he got hurt, and now trying to come back the last week and make a case for himself.
Well, you're still going to get some shots over the weekend, hopefully, and I don't know how the weather, you guys know more about the weather than I do, but you're going to get some shots this weekend, and if you do, because the starters aren't going to go that deep, every time Harper comes up, Neese or Alvarez has got to face him.
Oh, boy.
I guess then the question becomes, do you have to keep a lefty in that bullpen?
Not if they're not effective. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't keep a lefty because you need you want a lefty. If you can't get lefties out, why do you have them out there?
Well, the most effective lefty the Mets have thrown today was Sean Gilmartin, but he hasn't profiled all year as that lefty guy. But then again, neither has John Neese.
Yeah.
Well, Gilmartin has performed better in a middle role anyway. Not in. They're looking for someone to get a laid out, Gare.
Galvis strikes out, and that's the first out.
So my feeling is Neese is got a weekend of games, 3 games left. Neese going to get some more work.
So here's Herrera, and now Alvarez gets to face a left-hand batter. Herrera had a double his last time up against Tim Stauffer, who then retired 6 in a row, so it was Stauffer's best outing as a Met. And the slider in for a strike with Herrera bailing out. Jerry's Familia getting ready to pitch if need be today. Probably, well, maybe to the next batter. Well, 2 good sliders in a row from Alvarez, and ahead on Herrera 0-2. Well-equipped bullpen coach has his clipboard and his towel around his neck and his batting glove.
Did you notice the pink? Look at the pink cloth. Kind of nicely done. Very stylish.
Ricky Bonas always in the height of style.
Ricky's a good man.
Herrera hits one out to shallow right center, easing over his Lagares, and there are 2 out. Let's check in with Steve Gelb. Steve?
Gary, lowest attendance in Citizens Bank Park history. Well, it looks like we're going to have a pitching change right here, guys. So, but lowest attendance in Citizens Bank Park history. Not just a lack of fans here today, though. A lack of grounds crew members. They are about 6 guys short because of the quick turnaround today. So the head groundskeeper, Mike Bookholder, he's actually got certain front office guys on standby if they had to pull the tarp. He calls this a potential Gucci's shoes and ties day.
Well, that brings back memories of that game and that series in Denver.
With that shovel, Sandy Alderson was out there shoveling. Jerry's Familia will come in to get an out. Call to the bullpen brought to you by Empire City Casino. We'll be right back to Philadelphia. That's needed to get Jerry's Familia on the mound today, and so here he is to get an out in the 8th.
Yeah, with the threat of the weather, you want to make sure that he can get his work in.
It's been 5 days since he's been in the game, since he closed out the clincher on Saturday in Cincinnati. Don't know if he's going to get a chance for that saves record. He's one shy of Armando Benitez's 43. It's going to depend on how the games go this weekend. Aaron Altair is 0 for 2 and a walk. That's with 2 out and nobody on. Well, there's where Familia stands, one behind Benitez for the all-time single-season Mets save record.
Why when people talk about Benitez, they don't talk about him so fondly?
Because
I wasn't here.
He was terrific until the games got big. Whether it was late September or October, he did not fare well.
It was was a handful of times too.
Yeah.
So it was.
And Familia comes in, throws 3 pitches, and gets his work in for the day. We go to the 9th in Philadelphia. Mets trying to avoid a sweep, down 3-0. All right, gentlemen, Luis Garcia comes on for the save opportunity for the Phillies as we go to the ninth.
Looking for his second save this season.
Michael Kadire leads off and takes a strike from Garcia, who pitched on Tuesday night for a hitless inning.
He's got impressive stuff, Garcia. He's had a good year for them. ERA a little high. He's had 2 or 3 real bad outings. Other than that, he's been pretty solid.
You see, he struggled against the lefties. Left-hand hitter Nieuwenhuis on deck.
Too many walks. It's 37 walks in those 65 innings. That's too many.
Nieuwenhuis has swung the bat better than any Met today. Kadire's hit 2 balls hard, but he's 0 for 3. Got robbed by Ruff his last time up. And the slider fouled off. Garcia trying to save it for Jared Eichhoff, who went 7 innings and struck out 10. Phillies trying to sweep the Mets here at Citizens Bank Park for the first time since 2009. Slowly hit. Galvis makes the play, 1 away. The Dodgers are playing the Giants this afternoon. That game starts in about an hour and 20 minutes. The Dodgers started the day a game behind the Mets for home field.
What's the battery there, Gary?
I think it's going to be Hudson for the Giants, and I believe Brett Anderson goes for L.A.
I think probably Brett Anderson's going to be starting. He'll be one of their starters in the playoffs.
I think he's their 3rd or 4th guy.
Right.
With either Bolsinger or Alex Wood, or Alex Wood being the other one.
Well,
I don't know about Alex Wood.
It depends on where the 5 games are or the 4 games are or whatever. But you could see the Dodgers using their 2 best pitchers twice.
Well, then one of them has to go on short rest.
Yeah, 3 days.
If you pitch 1 and 4, you're going on short rest. If you pitch 2 and 5, you're not going on short rest.
Which is
2-0 to Nieuwenhuis with Campbell on deck. If you were the Dodgers and you have your choice, which obviously they do, that's flared toward the left side, flagged down by d'Arnaud, but Nieuwenhuis beats it out for his 3rd hit of the day. d'Arnaud has really shown off some skills in the field.
He's got some speed. He's got quickness, good lateral movement.
Nieuwenhuis has made the most of this day, hasn't he?
So 3 hits for Nieuwenhuis. He's aboard with 1 out. Eric Campbell coming up. Mets only have 6 hits on the day, and Kirk has half of them. Campbell's 0 for 3. I was going to say, if you're Mattingly, how do you decide who goes in game 1? Is it Kershaw? Is it Greinke? Is it clear cut either way?
Kershaw. Greinke, because Kershaw can start 4 and 3 days rest. Greinke needs the full day.
Okay.
Even if he didn't need it, I'm going with the horse, the big guy first.
Even
big left-hander.
Been great
Even though he hasn't had the great Octobers.
Yep.
Or maybe because he hasn't had the great Octobers. Is that an argument in Kershaw's favor as well?
He's gonna have a great October. The Mets hope it's 2018 or something.
He's the ace of the staff, as far as you go with your ace.
And also, I think a lot of people would make the argument that you want your strikeout guy in October. I mean, Greinke's had a great season, but Kershaw is more of the dominant strikeout pitcher.
Well, you saw what Kershaw did the other day against San Francisco. Some talk about San Francisco maybe putting a little rush into the Dodgers. He goes out, throws a complete game shutout, 13 punch-outs.
And did he get 300 strikeouts? He's very close.
He's short.
He's going to 390 something?
Yeah, 294, I think.
You go with your horse.
3-1 to Campbell. Curtis Granderson on deck to pinch hit. And Campbell grounds one down to 3rd. Out at 2nd. Galvis with the turn, and that'll do it. 5-4-3 double play. And the Phillies complete the sweep of the Mets with a shutout victory this afternoon behind 7 terrific innings from the rookie right-hander Jared Eichhoff.
Well, Garcia with his 2nd save this year. Mets with their 1A lineup doesn't produce any runs. Neuenhuis with 3 hits.
There's not much to add with that. Gilmartin acquitted himself nicely, gave up the bomb. Now the Mets get beat with the home run, 2-run shot and a solo.
So the Mets go the last 17 innings of this series without scoring a run. And the Phillies get the shutout today. Mets are shut out for the 14th time this season. And the Phillies, trying to avoid 100 losses, may have just done so. They only have to win 1 more over their last 3 to avoid 100. Phillies win it 3-0. We'll come back with more from Citizens Bank Park in just a moment.